Hi, my dear Astro family. So today we are going to be talking about the most active part of your chart in 2026. So we've been doing this series. We have gone through Saturn, Neptune, Jupiter, Chiron, the Jupiter and Pluto opposition. We have talked about the Jupiter, Chiron, and Pluto T-square. But we've got two asteroids, Pallas and Vesta, who will also go retrograde in the sign of Aries, and therefore each of them will be spending approximately about 8, 9 months in the sign of Aries. So we can see how active the Aries part of your chart will become. And therefore, you all need to be aware of how to use that Aries cusp of your chart. Now, if you would like to get a little bit more info about 2026, I have prepared a minimum of 2.5 hour breakdown to each rising sign, which is available for a purchase on my website. So you might want to be checking that out. I think it's going to be pretty helpful for many of you. And if you would like to have a reading with me, why not? You can do that also on my website, and I can prepare you how to use these energies in the bestest possible way. But let's get going with the Aries cusp of your chart, which is often considered to be the point of beginnings. The Aries cusp, which is kind of like the cusp of power of your chart, marks the very beginning of the zodiac. So therefore, it's a point where initiatives, the courage, that pioneering spirit needs to be alive. So, what house does the Aries cusp fall into your natal chart? And often people ask me, what house system do I use? And I do use personally a whole sign house system, but the information that I'm sharing with you is basically valid for any of the house systems that you want to be applying to. So it doesn't matter. Do I recommend switching between houses? No, I think stick your guns to one house system and then go with it and never question it. Because that's what I tend to see often with astrology students that, okay, let me try a different house system. Ooh, yeah, but that's strange, but it fits. So what am I going to do? The end result should be very similar. Okay. So basically, what happens is in 2026, like I said, we have got the convergence of Saturn, Neptune, Pallas, and Vesta in the sign of Aries. So therefore, the Aries part of your chart is going to be super intense, multifaceted, and potentially it's going to be a testing period whether that Aries cusp of your chart is actually ready for a certain type of a breakthrough. So first of all, let's just see the players to start with. We've got Saturn there, right? Which is the planet of structure, discipline. The karma pretty much meets this fiery, impulsive sign, which is, of course, Aries. This combination actually can be quite challenging as Saturn's is more about deliberation, like it's a deliberate nature. And it can feel very restricted in this very impulsive sign, which is Aries, who wants to take immediate action. However, it could also offer the potential for disciplined courage, the ability to build lasting foundations for your ambitions. So you're going to have to be able to become ambitious about that part of your chart. For example, it's the second house. Then you're going to have to be ambitious about finances, and you're going to have to start something completely fresh there. Yes, Saturn is about accountability. So we have to be accountable for our initiatives, and we're going to have to learn to temper that impulsive nature of Aries with methodical planning. Now we've got Neptune there, which is the planet of dreams and illusions, but also intuition, the spirituality as well. So it's kind of like the spiritual courage combination, and it encourages us to act on our intuition. I think it's about redefining our identity through visions, visionary pursuits, and aligning our actions with our deeper spiritual values or spiritual realm. The potential pitfall here is that impulsive idealism, where the boundaries are blurred and then we are kind of like put our faith in one thing. And surely this is teaching us that we need to be putting our faith into the self, but we have to remain cautious. And that's exactly what Saturn wants us. Now, but I want to focus a little bit more on the asteroids. We've got Pallas Athene here. And Pallas is the asteroid of wisdom, strategy. It's a problem-solving archetype. She's a warrior princess, basically, but she's not that bold. She is calculative. She comes up with plans rather than just rushing into a war, for example. Yes, there is a very strong competitive drive, and basically where Pallas Athene is, that usually we can win there because she initiates the change, but she is, she's got this cunning intelligence also. So because she plans things out, usually it's a win-win combination. And also, she is channeling a lot of intellectual energy into these strategic and courageous endeavors. So with Pallas Athene here, it feels like that, yes, we're gonna have to be super strategic. We're gonna have to put on the boxing gloves as well, and we're gonna have to make sure that somehow we win something in that Aries cusp of our chart. And then we've got Vesta also there. And Vesta is about devotion, focus, commitment. Vesta's flame burns with passion here. And obviously, Aries wants to accomplish something. With Saturn, I think we get the dedication alongside with Vesta. And then with Neptune, we have to have that idealistic nature there. So I think Vesta represents the unwavering dedication to a goal. So I love actually these four planetary kind of conjunctions. Let's call it as a conjunction because they are going to be making individual conjunctions to Saturn and Neptune, but not kind of together. I think altogether it creates a huge willpower, a lot of leadership. It's kind of like what it tells is that you're going to have to keep the leash in your own hand. It's not the doggy who is pulling your leash, it's basically making that doggy, that puppy, to kind of follow you. And that would be the whole idea here. So when we are bringing together all these energies on a personal level, it really feels like that it's a self-realization. Saturn gives the reality check, Neptune gives the spiritual insights. Well, it is all about a bit of a challenge because I think we all have to get real about who we are, what we stand for, what we want to accomplish in life. I feel like Saturn will want to strip away the illusions about our identity. Kind of like it's a bit of an awakening moment that, we are not the only one who exists in the world, but we are the most important person ever in our lives. So therefore, self-care, but it brings up the topic of having to notice that others are around us as well. I think this is about the manifestation of our dreams with a touch of discipline. I think this is an incredibly potent time for turning our dreams into reality. And Neptune gives you the vision, Pallas gives you the strategy, Saturn and Vesta gives the discipline. So that it's about fruition for me. And I think Vesta will keep you passionate to this path. I think it's kind of like a spiritual warrior energy as well, because both Vesta and Neptune are highly spiritual energies, and Saturn and Pallas together are kind of like very grounded energy. So there is an equal blend of spiritual awareness and courageous actions with Aries, but with those grounded kind of movements, like let's call them as movements. So I feel like it's very much of a time to stand up for our beliefs, fighting for our ideas, take the lead in areas you are passionate about, while staying somehow connected with that spiritual compass of yours. I think we are going to be experiencing challenges, but it leads to a growth. Because at the end of the day, Saturn is in fall in the sign of Aries, and Saturn is a bit on the cautious side. Aries is on the impulsive side. Combine that with Neptune's potential for confusion and overly idealistic kind of moments. And therefore, it can lead to self-doubt and frustration as well. And with Pallas or Vesta, especially with Vesta, we might just give up. Vesta's Virgin gave up on love in a way. So Vesta does represent, to a certain extent, giving up as well. And Pallas Athene might not be enough energy overall just to come up with a strategy to make improvements in our lives. So just watch out for that. On a global level, I think surely this is going to talk to us about the dismantling of old structures and I think the birth of new ideas. I mean, Saturn Neptune conjunction historically correlates with the dissolution of old social, political, and economical structures. In Aries, this will likely be driven quite a lot, for especially like the desire for greater individualism or the new ways of living life. So I think we're going to see, the breakdown of outdated systems, something that is not authentic anymore. And potentially, hopefully, it is going to bring a spiritual awareness, a collective vision. I think potentially this might be bringing a lot of charismatic and visionary leaders as well. But with Pallas Athene, it's a battle plan. It is all in the making already. It feels like it. It is all, a gradual. Like I said, with Pallas Athene, we are not rushing into a war. We're going to plan things out here. So the changes will be a little bit slow. I think there's going to be a huge reality check on a global scale. No more disillusionments, no more fantasies. I think the fantasies are being confronted with hard reality. And therefore, a lot of exposure will be happening here, and most likely a lot of scandals as well. And, Aries is an activist. So we're going to see a lot of movements, a lot of pioneering movements as well. It's kind of like fighting for our birthrights. It's about fighting for our individualization. It's about not wanting to be kind of like suppressed anymore. So surely we are going to be seeing this. Now, the core engine here is surely the Saturn and Neptune conjunction, of course. Saturn is the reality and Neptune is the ideas. We can call this combination as the great dissolver. Like I said, it dissolves structures, beliefs, borders that are built on illusions or potentially like something that has become stagnant. It's a kind of like a spiritual reality check. I mean, just think of the last conjunction that happened, 1989, 1990, which of course coincided with the fall of the Berlin Wall. Saturn actually represents the walls, the structure, and it got dissolved by Neptune, and basically Neptune represents unity. So two parts of Berlin got reunited. Now, the Aries factor there is that it's a pure initiation. It's about identity. It's about raw will. So the conjunction will be taking on 0 degree, and that is basically the global scale there. So whatever is going to go down in the world, it is on a world scale. This is not just kind of one, part of the world, and the other one is kind of peaceful. It's not just the Berlin Wall that is going to get dissolved. Basically, we're going to feel this in the entire world. Yes, this could be a forceful, kind of like a revolutionary reset as well. And most of, or many of us will not agree with it. So that's the reason why, there is potentials of resistance, for example. It's the literal birth of a new ideal and therefore the dismantling of old identities, both personally and collectively as well. Now Pallas and Vesta's extended stay there, like I said, Pallas is about strategy, Vesta is about devotion. They are not just passing through here, they are settled in, like weaving their specific energies deep into this fabric of this main conjunction, basically, right? So Pallas Athene is kind of like the master. So wherever she is, we have to come up with a master plan there. Like I said, Pallas doesn't just fight, she fights with wisdom. She recognizes patterns. And so Pallas will provide here a strategic blueprint for manifesting this dream. So on a personal level, this is a call to not just have a vision and a work ethic, but to have a plan. And how do you intelligently and strategically bring your spiritual ideas into this real world? How is it going to manifest? Or, Pallas Athene is about creative problem solving. So, do you have problems in the Aries cusp of your chart? We're going to have to find effective methods for it. Globally, it could indicate, new forms of strategic conflicts as well as resolutions as well. Think cyber warfare, political, like it's like a political chess match, basically, which is often based on ideology with Neptune, but also it indicates the rise of brilliant strategists who can navigate the world, you know, where the old rules no longer apply, basically. And then we've got Vesta here, the keeper of that sacred flame. Wherever Vesta is, something is sacred there. We are devoted to it. We are focusing on that. And also, it's about the internal fire as well. So it really feels like that Vesta is purifying the Aries cusp of your chart. So you have to ask the question, what is the mission I'm having connected to that Aries cusp of my chart? Am I willing to dedicate, something there? This conjunction may become a call to vocation, not just a job. For example, if it happens in your 10th house. Globally, I think this might indicate some fanatic, devoted groups that may rise or connected to certain type of movements. Because, there is this core ideology there with Neptune, and, they pursue their idealism with strategic action, and that's Pallas. And then we've got this unwavering commitment, which is, of course, Vesta. This could be super good. Obviously, it could represent certain type of humanitarian matters, but it could be ideological extremism as well. So I think when it works well, this is basically a visionary builder. It's the entrepreneur who launches a groundbreaking, sustainable, I don't know, company, for example. Or it's an activist who creates something durable, long lasting, to make changes, let's say, in environmental pollution, or you who is ready to rebuild your entire life from scratch, basically, because you feel this spiritual call towards something. I mean, the dissonance here, it's kind of like the crusade, the misguided crusade. I mean, Neptune is the illusion, and therefore in Aries, it can become righteous, completely misguided, and then Saturn can make these ideologies super durable also. So this could indicate a leader who is emerging and then basically misleading the entire world, seemingly having a great plan, a brilliant plan, and then everyone gets devoted to it, or a lot is getting devoted to it, but maybe it's all built on, or the foundation of those are basically lies. So just to give you a couple of examples, I'm going to talk about the very briefly the angles. So if you've got an Aries rising sign, then this is going to be happening in your first house. And it would talk to you about the complete reinvention of the self. It's about being courageous to make changes in your life, but you must be strategic about how you present this new identity to the world. If it happens in your fourth house, meaning that you have got Capricorn rising sign, then it's the revolution in your home life or family structure. Maybe you are ready to create a new kind of a home, a reality check about your family history, your legacy. Maybe you are going to be dedicated to create a home business or to relocate. If you have got a Libra rising sign, then it's going to be happening in your seventh house. And that might talk to you about dissolutions of partnerships that are not built on shared spiritual reality. And therefore, it's about somehow forging a new, more diplomatic alliances. I think it might even be an indication that you are called upon to become a pioneer as well for others. And then if it happens in your 10th house, meaning you've got a Cancer rising sign, basically it's a major career shift. It's about becoming a leader in your field because you have got a vision there, you've got the strategy there, and you just need to pour your kind of heart into it. So your life's work becomes somehow a sacred mission. So that's very much, it feels like, connected to your Aries cusp of your chart. Obviously, I have mentioned now the most important positions. We are going to be experiencing other factors in the sign of Aries also. But one of the reasons why I wanted to quickly prepare this video was because we just had an Aries full moon, and I know I have missed the full moon video. I usually don't, but I couldn't actually uh, prepare this time around the video. But I want to touch, or I want to give you a couple of kind of like ideas here because, or something that to think about. Because the full moon was all about highlighting something in your life, right? And it happened on 14 degree of 14 degree of Aries. But what's very interesting is that we had a Jupiter and Chiron conjunction, which happened in 2023 March on 14 degree of Aries. And and now we've got a Jupiter and Chiron square happening. So therefore, the 2023 March onwards period is actually very much connected to right now as well as next year. So I just wanted to add that to it. And this full moon was all about, how courageous you are, whether you are expressing who you are. It's about a call to be authentic, to express your true feelings and express your desire without any type of apology. It's about being decisive about an action, a new beginning. So I highly recommend starting to implement the changes right now, because I feel like with that four-part conjunction, this could really talk to you about certain type of manifestations already in 2026. Um, yeah, 2026. Yes, I think it was also about an emotional release as well. Maybe it's about, having pent-up angers and frustrations and, any emotions that have not been expressed or have been suppressed. You have to be kind of like releasing those. And potentially, this full moon was also about rebalancing your relationships like the give and take part of your relationship and creating healthier dynamics. And it's not just with another person, but with yourself as well. And it also feels like that it wanted you to trust your instincts. So this full moon, it did make a conjunction to Ceres, which is often about protective instincts. And I did look back what happened during the Jupiter and Chiron conjunction on 14 degree of Aries, which was very interesting because Vesta was there as well, by the way, exactly on 14 degree also. And I did find that there was a lot of banking issues, a lot of crisis in the banking world. Some of the banks actually kind of collapsed, basically. So do I expect something similar? Potentially, it can indicate yes. But anyway, I don't want to bore you now with the full moon in Aries, because obviously it has already passed. It happened, what, 3 days ago? Um, but I think this is connected to that four planetary alignment in the sign of Aries. Somehow 2023 is a little bit of a repetition, and you need to think about what went down in your life in 2023 also. So, guys, have a lovely week, and I will see you soon in my next video. Take care. Bye bye.